Of stray lines, or how would you translate in English?
Well, we have the word errant in English.
Sure.
Like we have the expression errant knight, a knight that just wanders around. So that kind of idea.
Lines of errands. And this was the concept he put in the place of subjectivity. So we want to analyze the subjectivity of the schizophrenic child, and he says, we don't need the concept of subjectivity, knowledge, etc. What we have when I observe this child is that I see, and he tried even to make kind of maps. They have ligne there. And so as I told you, it was not a theory, so he just invent this very interesting concept. But I think this would be a good concept to understand what Foucault meant when life in man is linked to the subjectivity in man is linked to the errors of life. So not to the mistake of life, but to the lines of errors. It's interesting to see a subject, especially as we are now in our perspective, subjectivity is a form of life. But perhaps a form of life is a line of line of errors.
I'm certainly not an expert on this, so I could be very wrong, but my understanding is that the Greek word for error is hamartia, which was then adopted or taken over by the Christians and translated as sin. And it seems interesting to me that there's almost a touch of Augustine and the Christian idea of original sin as being the nature of the human subject. And I just wonder if there's, and when Foucault returns to this concept of error, which has this lineage that to me seems like it also points to the Christian notion. If there's something going on there at all.
No, this is absolutely pertinent. Thank you for bringing this, because what's interesting that the Greek term, so one of the oldest terms we have for error in our tradition, amartia means when you walk, how do you say it? This is originally, etymologically, amartia is this. You fall because you are walking up, you go wrong, and so a kind of errance, a kind of error in physical and ontological meaning. We will come also to this problem. What happens in Christianity, that this sense of amartia is put in relation to a law, and will only mean to transgress a law, a commandment. Also for the Jew, the Torah. So the amartia, sin, so the error is not going astray while walking, is to transgress a law, which is different. It's a different sense of the amartia. But if we could make a genealogy of errors, this would be pertinent to understand how error was understood as transgressing a law. Very strange. Why should we understand error as transgressing a law? But now we are cut because this is deeply penetrated in our culture. So in some say we mean it's an error, perhaps also with respect to the law of nature. Not only to the juridical or religious law. So the error for us has this connotation of a transgression. But in Foucault idea, I think there is nothing at all, like in delimiting the schizophrenic child. We are not transgressing a law, they were just erring.
Foucault, in fact, approaches it somewhat differently, and he says at one point, let's not look at the formulations and the conceptions of truth, many of which are a correspondence theory of truth, that there is a measurability or even a calculability of truth, almost in the sense that Heidegger would use the term calculability. What Foucault says is, instead, let's look at who tells the truth. Let's look at the consequences of telling the truth. Who is the truth for? To whom do you tell the truth? And this is the problem of paresia, the paresia states, to take that upon. And it's not, therefore, precisely a matter of error or transgression of the truth, but rather a kind of pluralization of the idea of what truth might be. If one, as paresia states, tells the truth without guile, without rhetoric, and paresia shares the same root, rema, as rhetoric does. If one tells the truth from the heart, that's what you believe. Well, of course, people can believe many, many different things. So I think that for Foucault, that kind of plurality, which even admits a contradiction and contradistinction, would sort of operate in a place that might have been called errance. Not error, but it's much more like errance than error, a different kind of wandering around this. So I think that might be a useful formulation, at least of what he was thinking about when he was posing the problem of truth and subjectivity.
Yeah, absolutely. But this means that Foucault, not only when he's treating the problem of errance or error, but even when he treats the problem of truth, he will shift completely from the position of the theory of knowledge. Which are the conditions of truth? At what condition a certain statement is true? Which subject will ground and guarantee the truth? While it's just visible who is the one who tells the truth? Which are the effects of telling the truth? Not the paresia. All this. So you see the shifting. So a different theory of subjectivity will change completely. Apparently the problem is the problem of truth seems the same. No, on one side you have the problem of truth as belonging to the theory of knowledge, and on the other side you will have the problem of truth as belonging to ethics in the last instance, because that's who tells the truth for him is an ethical problem, ethical and political problem. The paresia in Greece. It's the idea that the man who tells the truth, but tells the truth ethically and politically, not what is scientifically true. Is that clear? Now this shifting is very important to understand Foucault, because apparently otherwise we could believe that he's just treating particular problems with no implication on ontology or subjectivity. Foucault is one of those philosophers who never formulates his ontology and then his theory of subjectivity. He leaves it unsaid. But it is there, and if you do not understand this, you will not understand the rest. The problem of this new disposition of the tables is on one way you are nearer, but then sometime, as in a class, you are covered, and then you cannot speak in order to speak, you have to go do like this. So is that clear? No, this shifting. And this Derrida is a very interesting guy. So if you have the occasion of reading his books, it's an interesting idea. So instead, in these books, instead of having a theory of subjectivity or the schizophrenic subjectivity, you have a kind of maps. You have maps with lines. And it's very interesting in the point where this linear there meets, cross. Because he found that this linear there cross, intertwine at a certain point. And these are very interesting points in order to understand subjectivity.
A colleague of mine, Ellen Corrin, who was an anthropologist, a medical anthropologist, did a study with adult schizophrenics at a psychiatric hospital, where she followed their wanderings in the community, and she discovered that there were two poles in the lives of these people: the hospital and usually a significant parent, often the mother. A significant parent, usually the